Welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast, where we have deep and meaningful conversations exploring modalities, tools, and healing, guiding you back to your most expansive soul self.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Revival Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest to welcome, Arti, whose work beautifully speaks to the power of energy healing. Arti, welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast. We would love if you took a couple minutes to introduce yourself and tell us all about the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Autumn, and it's so lovely to join you both here today. Thank you for having me. Well, it's lovely to be here today with you both, and I'm known as the Akashic Wealthologist, and that means decoding your soul patterns around whatever's blocking your wealth, peace, and power, and really pulling that out from the higher realms as we know them, and clearing that completely out of the energy field, and then activating soul DNA codes so that women can truly just rise into what their soul was here to be built for.
I love that. I cannot wait to get into this conversation today because I think that you bring a lot of this badass energy that allows divine feminines to truly step into their power and their authenticity and remind them of their magic. So I'm really excited for this conversation. But we do like to start every podcast with the same questions. So what aligns you most to your soul self, Arti?
I would say when I am feeling very calm and peaceful and connected to my breath and my guides, that's when I feel most connected, because I know that I've got divine energy around me and I'm not on my own. And that's the beauty of it. We're connected to this beautiful universe and we're never on our own.
I love that. So beautiful.
Good. So good. So those who have followed my story, have read my book, know that I have worked with Arti in the past. And so I'm going to kind of take the lead a bit in our conversation today. I'm so thankful to have you on. Obviously, the work that you and I did together was completely transformative for me. And I think for you as well, because I feel like when we were working together, it opened a door for work that you hadn't really necessarily done before. Do you mind talking a little bit about, and I'm happy to, step in, but how your sessions work? I know for me, you did, and I don't know if you always do them the same. I'm sure, there's intuitive guidance for every direction of every session. But for me, like that beautiful going on a journey together into your Akashic records and working with your team, letting your team pre-guide the session, and then letting my team guide when we were actually in the records was such a hugely healing and transformative experience for me. Is that how you typically structure a session? Can you talk a little bit about how you structure client sessions?
Yeah, of course. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with you as well, Lindsay. And we did really go embark on this journey together because I was at the very start of doing Akashic work. And Lindsay was amongst a few of my first clients. And I was deeply honoured to be trusted to do this work for Lindsay and for you, Lindsay, because I know that you are at a stage in life where you were looking for support, and in terms of the records themselves. So my work, what I tend to do is I set a very safe and sacred space to begin with. So that's very important, because whenever we're connecting to the upper realms, it's important that there's no interference coming from anywhere else. And that can mean, other entities sometimes trying to interfere with a space when we've opened ourselves up to source. So it's very important that we create that safe space. So I have a specific process that I've taken Lindsay through to create that safe space. And that involves calling in the spirit guide team, the archangels. So I create a very specific grid with the archangels before entering a session with a client, and also asking the guides and the archangels, and also client's higher self, to support our soul's intention. So there's a very specific process that we go through.
we want to express deep gratitude for everybody who sponsors the podcast. It really, really matters. It allows us to invest our time, effort, and energy in bringing you the most relevant spiritual content. So if you're feeling called, please subscribe, click like, leave a review, or sponsor the podcast. We very, very much appreciate you.
And then through that, we then journey on into the Akashic Records. And that particular intro that we do together is a very crucial step in terms of allowing you to establish that solid and safe connection, so that when you do go up and you're opening yourself up to all this information, what we're essentially doing is we're extracting the information that's relevant to you, the guidance and the healing that's relevant to you and your journey. And your guides will always, always bring you to the level that they feel that you are ready for. And so that specific intro process that we do together is to make you open and receptive, but then also to clear any sort of debris out of your energy and also your energy centers as well. So then by the time we're up into your Akashic Records, you're feeling very relaxed and the guides are then with you, but then you're also connecting and you're having that space and that time with your guides and your higher self as well. And yes, they do direct me in terms of where to take you on your journey. And it can be anything. And we always set intentions at the beginning of every session, because the Akashic very much responds to your intentions. It is the realm of intentions. So sometimes when we do affirmations and when we set intentions in the third dimension, those are the times where we may feel that it doesn't stick. But when we set our intentions on the fifth dimension, on that level, we are setting those at fifth dimensional level within the records. So it's almost sort of implanting, your divine intention there, so that the guides can then help direct you to the right record, because you can get lost in the Akashic Records if you don't use the right guides. So that's a very specific process as well in terms of extracting the right record in accordance to your intention. And then we allow for some time with higher self and the guides. And that really is so that any sort of information and downloads and upgrades can really be integrated into your being. And when you come out of a session, you might not always have that sort of realization or that download straight away, but eventually it does come as you start to maintain the momentum around the intention that we set at the beginning of the session. So essentially what we're doing is we're extracting life force energy from your very own soul records, but then we're also extracting all the information that's open, ready, and available to you at this point in time, for you to then move forward on your path, within your journey. So the guides are also very, very helpful in terms of clearing really dense energies. And this also involves past, present, and future lifetimes. So anything that we might have placed on ourselves, anything coming from outside, external energies as well. So it very much is, it's a very transformative process, but it's done in a way where it feels like a beautiful experience. So you're not sat there rehashing and re-traumatizing yourself, but there's a method to how I do everything. So that's how it works.
Yeah, and I just have to say, from my perspective, I would completely agree with that. It was beyond gentle, beyond nurturing, just such a beautiful experience, such a deeply healing experience. So one of the things I loved about it was not only being in the records, and 1000% always felt like a safe space, always felt like an intentional space. The feeling was palpable to me of the intention you had set pre-session. I love the fact that you recorded the sessions. So for me, a big part of my healing journey was actually going back and listening to those recordings, letting it further integrate. And I literally felt a shift as soon as we would go out of session. You could feel the transitioning happening even in my physical body. And I just have to share one experience that I had with you. I mean, there were so many, but you taught me, and through our work together, I learned about Roger, my husband on the other side, being on my high council, which helped me foundationally in further building on our connection and the conversations and the expansion that he helps me have every single day on my spiritual journey. And during one of our sessions, we had just finished a session. I know you remember there were so many signs and messages I was getting from him. He was using like phone and so much technology to get messages. And always I would get a message from him usually through my phone, but before and after a session. But there was one time in specific, and I think we were actually doing a heart healing, if I remember correctly. After session, he literally physically appeared. It was very brief, but it was so incredibly powerful and so needed at a soul level for me. I was just really, really struggling. So I can't emphasize enough, if you're listening to this episode, you're listening to Arti talk and you're feeling drawn to learn about her work, I cannot emphasize enough how healing and transformative it is. It helped me on so many levels. It helped me connect deeper. It helped me anchor into the connections that were already happening for me. It helped me expand my awareness of spirituality and our ability to do this work ourselves, because I think that's part of the power of the Akashic Records, and having somebody guiding you through the records like yourself is it's opening these doors, opening these portals that you might not even be aware of in your limited physical knowledge and in this 3D as you mentioned. So I had to say that because there's so many things I want to contribute to this episode, but I'd have to just say that the work that you did not only was healing in the moment of the session, but having that resource available to me anytime I was struggling, or anytime I knew it was like your body tells you when you're ready for expansion and you need to be listening to things that are going to expand you at a soul level. And I always had those available to me, and it was huge for me. So thank you.
I'm so honored to hear that. I really am. And I'm grateful to have been a part of your journey. And I know that you've since then gone on to do so many amazing things. And it's been so lovely to stay connected to you as well, and see you evolve into, this amazing, even more amazing woman that you've become. And the work itself, in terms of how, I mean, Lindsay's very much been an all-in participant, in terms of she would set her intentions and then she would just go and do it. And that's why it worked, because it's almost like we were creating this loop. And so the start would be the intention, we'd go through the session, should be very open and receptive. And then after the session, then it would be up to Lindsay to close the loop by moving forward with her intentions. And as she would move forward, things would happen, and we'd create these openings in terms of different paths through. So much had happened. We had, in terms of what we were learning through the process as well, in terms of it practically is what you go in to receive is what you will get out, providing you do stick to your intentions and move forward with those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it planted so many seeds, like you alluded to this with, the future and where I'm at now. And I think, where I will be. And to me, you weren't part of my past journey, you're part of my present journey, because all the seeds that you planted have just been instrumental in unlocking so many doors that are available to me every single day. So yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Arti, I have a question for you. For our audience that have no idea what Akashic Records are, what is your best explanation of Akashic Records and Akashic Records work?
So the Akashic Records, they're a living consciousness. So we're also a living consciousness, but that they're a living consciousness, and it's essentially a collection of all of our life's records from our past, present, and future lives. Everything is stored within our own records, and we each have our own record. And what can often happen is sometimes we might think that we're connecting to the records, but we might not always have established a safe connection. We might end up wandering somebody else's records. So it really is about being able to establish a safe connection. The records themselves, they're a place to go to when you want to upgrade your soul DNA, when you want to create those identity shifts on a different level. Because not only are we extracting information that, has been held from past lives, we're also extracting our gifts and information related as to how to move forward with those gifts. But then we're also establishing connection with our guides as well. So in terms of where it sits on the spiritual scale, you've got mindset work, nervous system work, therapy. They all go hand in hand. But then it's the spiritual aspect that helps you to really integrate that. And there are many other different practices on the way as well. But this is a very strong component in terms of integrating all dimensional aspects of who we are, because we're not just 3D, we're not just 4D subconscious, we're 5D and we're beyond. So this is really about opening ourselves up to and accepting those parts of us and really remembering who we are, because that's when we establish fulfillment, peace, and happiness, when we've got that ultimate connection to ourselves. So the records are used for manifestation, for healing, and for clearing really dense energy. So you really can get as intentional as you need to with the records, because they're your own. As long as you go into your own records, which is what I do through my process, then you can work and deepen your practice and really unpeel layers and layers and discover more of who you are. So once those downloads have been extracted from the records, you'll go through your day-to-day life and you'll automatically start to open yourself up to different opportunities. Or if you take a new action, you'll find that leads you down a different path. And you'll notice different sort of synchronicities happen that wouldn't normally, because you've established that connection. So if I were to sort of summarize what the records represent, they're the missing piece after therapy, after all the other things. They are the missing piece in terms of integrating who you are as a person, because we can all connect to the quantum field, but it's our own quantum field that we actually need to be connecting to, not anybody else's, or sort of opening ourselves up to the whole field, because you can get lost, that there's a lot going on within that living consciousness. So it's about keeping the focus and directing it to where you need to go to assist you on your journey, because Earth is a school at the end of the day, and we are here to learn, and we are here to progress, and we are here to build the most beautiful relationships as well. And the Akashic is really there to assist us with absolutely everything. And the work that we do within our Akashic in this life also translates into other lives as well. So if there's like a karmic pattern that we're working through and we're releasing karmic imprints, and then we take the necessary action to close that loop and take the accountability through our intention, then essentially we don't need to go back into that space and relive that experience in another life. So it's powerful work, more than we know. But once we're tapped in, we do begin to remember so many aspects of who we are. And it just gives you that inner sense of feeling lifted and even more connected to the world and ourselves in general.
if you are going through, if you're listening to this episode and you're going through super deep grief, if you've got trauma, I would say that it also works in the reverse. So if you haven't done any of the other things yet, if you have not, maybe you aren't feeling called to do therapy, maybe you're feeling called to this type of work first, it 100% works that way. And I think, obviously doing the work afterwards, the self-care work and, the deep inner work that you need to do is really important to making this, fully stick and come, fully to fruition and get all the benefits from it. But if you are just so deep in grief right now and you're looking for a place to start, this is a phenomenal place to start. It was the first, and I'll tell the story at the end because I want to be really intentional on how we are having this conversation today. But I was guided to this work out of the gate when Roger passed. I started getting guided before he even passed. And I will tell you, it was so important to my soul's journey to have this work first. So I just want to say that if you're listening to this episode and you haven't done any of those other things yet, and you're feeling guided and pulled to do this work first, there's a reason. So listen and trust in that.
Absolutely. And I love that you shared that, because everyone's journey is different. For the majority, in my experience, they'd come from that side. But with you, for example, Lindsay, you were very open and receptive and ready to receive that. And we work with such a beautiful divine team that it's almost like you feel that spiritual hug, and it opens you up to just feeling that movement in terms of what you're going through. And it really helps you to move through really deep and those really dense times. So I love that you've mentioned that. Thank you for mentioning that, because it can absolutely work in reverse, as it has done for you.
And to keep, you were mentioning like in the Akashic Records work, keeping it in your field. So is it working hand in hand with the subconscious mind? And that's why the upgrades happen so quickly, because is it hand in hand with the subconscious mind?
So in terms of, because the Akashic Records are held at fifth dimensional level, they are then an access point to all the other dimensions of who we are and all the other dimensions in general. And so when you're working at that higher level of consciousness, and then you've got the subconscious, it can help to instruct the subconscious to then work with your conscious in terms of clearing the path forward. So subconscious work in itself is powerful, but once you've got the records involved, you're then involving multidimensional aspects of not only yourself, but then you're inviting in other divine energies who then have healing energy they have healing capabilities to help you move through what you're currently going through. And it can be that you're calling something in, it can be that you're going through something difficult, but these energies at the higher consciousness are there to assist us. And I mean, if you're somebody that might have read a book on, for example, how to ask your guides for assistance or how to ask for divine support, this is where you would do that. You would do that in the fifth dimension in terms of asking for support and also your intentions as well. So it very much speaks to the subconscious very powerfully, and they do work hand in hand. Whereas if you're feeding information through from the conscious, say if you're reciting affirmations, what can happen is your subconscious can reject that. So then we can go into divine intervention at the fifth dimensional level, and we can start to break away at what has already been stuck at that level as well. So that's how it all works beautifully.
Oh, I love that.
It's
Thank
like
you for sharing
flipping
that.
on the power switch, not just plugging in the device, but flipping on the power switch. I was going to say too, I feel like with for me with the grief work, not only did it, was it hugely transformational in the healing, but I think a big reason that it was hugely transformational in the healing is obviously it deepened my connection with spirit first and foremost. but it also tapped me into the why. So I'm a big believer. Anybody that's followed me knows that I'm a big believer. Even those big, bad, ugly things that happen in your life, there is a reason and there is expansion and connection on the other side of it when we choose to view it like that and we start to dive into the reasons why. And I think the work that I did with you, Artie, really helped me to start to uncover the why. The why, why was I going through this? What was it? And then ultimately, that why helped tap me into my soul's purpose.
And you know what? You sharing that, it goes to show that how powerful deepening our perspective is, and really inviting more, because what perspective stands for is opening ourselves up to really see ourselves from those different dimensional levels. And then once we're connected to different perspectives, it means something different to what it used to mean. We've uncovered a different layer, we've uncovered a different meaning, and that meaning really then, like you've explained, it drives us forward. It gives us that jolt to really be able to move forward, but this time with even more conviction. And that's essentially what we end up doing each time we go into our records. It's a different experience every single time. And it's never the same, because you're always going to be uncovering and deepening those different layers of who you are. And sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes your guides will have you be ready for something that you weren't expecting. But it's up to us to establish that connection, and that there's only sort of one way to find out, and just go for it. But in my experience from other practices that I've seen, everything that I have done has helped me in my journey. So whether it be mindset work, therapy, all the things are a very important component. But then having that soul connection, it really just puts everything together.
It integrates it.
Exactly. And that's like the sort of final integration piece. But then again, it can be the first, and then you can work backwards. But it's a very important component in terms of remembering who we are here to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I just would like to share with everybody how I got guided to you, because I just feel like if you're listening to this episode and you're feeling pulled to work with Artie, I'll tell you my story. So I actually came across you and your work. You all of a sudden came into my privy on LinkedIn of all places, which I think is very interesting because, this was the corporate world and lens that I was 100% in at that time. But you came across my privy months before Roger passed. And I will just share that even when you and anybody who's lived through this knows what I'm talking about, even when somebody you love deeply receives a terminal diagnosis, you actually never think of them as going to pass. Like you just, and I'm actually thankful I didn't, because I didn't struggle with pre-grief at all. I was able to be very present. But so that was the energy that I was in, was like just being fully present with him. But your energy, your vibration, what you were putting out there on LinkedIn just like always got my attention. It was always resonating with me. And then, so I feel like it was like the universe setting up those puzzle pieces ahead of time. So when you're like, if somebody's coming across your path like this, pay attention to those cues, because then probably a couple months, it wasn't long after Roger passed. And I was so, so, so deep in grief. I can't even overemphasize that enough. So, so deep in grief. I was really struggling to be here. And you had done a 3 card pull, and you had the backs of the cards, and you said, had told people to pick one that resonated without being able to see the card. And I picked my card, and the next day you revealed it, and it was all about like, spiritual growth and connection to the other side. And I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it was an affirmation of me being pulled to be in your orbit, and that I was supposed to be working with you. And that's what started it. And I think that's just really important, because I think so many times we get these cues, especially especially when we're struggling. And, our loved ones on the other side, they want us to be here. They want us to experience the soul expansion. That's really the reason why that we're going through these hard times to begin with. So it's so important for us to tune into those cues and to trust those cues when you're getting them. So if this episode's a cue to you, or, if there's other things that you keep coming across your privy, there's a reason why. And I was 1000% guided to work with you.
I really love that. And you, LinkedIn out of all places, again, I mean, I personally don't have a big following on LinkedIn, and I've actually come back on there, but it doesn't make sense how we met, because I wasn't, like I said, I didn't have many connections, is what they call it on LinkedIn. I didn't have many connections on LinkedIn. So it just didn't make sense. But this is how the universe works. It really will align you to the right energies at the right time, even when it doesn't make sense. But it is really up to us to be able to listen to that cue, as you've said, Lindsay, to listen to our intuition. And if we feel that nothing's coming through, or we feel blocked with our intuition, this work is also very, very relevant in that sense, because it opens you up to that side as well. But we don't need to do that work to know. We all have a gut feeling, and it really is about trusting that first, and then the spiritual work is about deepening that connection. And in terms of, like, for me, connecting with Lindsay on LinkedIn was very it just very random is how I would describe it. And I also wasn't expecting to connect with anybody in relation to corporate or anything like that. But when I met Lindsay, her energy was very different to what I would have expected from a corporate background, because I've come from a corporate background. So most people are very just driven, and they go into work, they do what they need to do, and the spiritual side is very much left on the shelf. But with Lindsay, she was very open, and that's what I feel it made the biggest difference. And it was just amazing to work with you.
Ditto.
Definitely one of the most receptive people that I've come across.
Oh, good. I always want to be open to everything, so I appreciate that. Well, we have, I'm sure, piqued so many people's interest in you, Artie, today, and I am forever grateful for everything that you did in my life. In many ways, you helped me be here today, so I'm so thankful for that. Can you share with people how they can find you and work with you?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the opportunity. So I have a website. I believe I'm not sure whether we're sharing links. So I do have a website, so you can reach. You can have a look at all my services on the website. But then you're most welcome to message me on Facebook or on any of my other social media channels, such as Instagram or LinkedIn as well. But I'm mainly on Facebook, so we can chat in the messenger. And I do custom packages as well, so that I'm very much open to doing that. But then I also do have set services, just so you can take a look at what's available. So I offer soul clearings, activations, and then I also have the Akashic Wealth streams as well, but I have a whole library of them now. So the journey that I took Lindsay on, I have a collection of 16 Akashic Wealth streams to help you to move through any sort of area of your life. And I do also have a grief stream in there as well, should you want to connect to your loved ones and also heal anything that's happened in between, any sort of lingering energies, because that really is a space for you to also connect in with your loved one as well. So I specifically wanted to make sure that was in the collection as well, as collaborated, with my guides. So for self-healing, There's the Akashic Wellstream collection, which is known as the Divine Akashic Collection on the website. But any questions at all, you're most welcome to reach out and ask, because I know that sometimes all this stuff can be very new. So I'll be more than happy to talk through anything.
And I'm not sure if you still do it, but I know one thing that was hugely valuable to me was just for reaffirmation, but doing that we did a little discovery call together, and it was like, as soon as we got on, it was like, yes, yes, this is a yes energy. And then for me, like, we just kept building on the work. So I don't even know how many sessions we did all together, but maybe a dozen, but it was quite a few. So I think for me, it was like instantly knowing that our energies were linked and connected in that way, and I was meant to work with you, which the discovery call validated. And then the more you do this work, like, you'll uncover a lot of things and open doors for yourself. And so I found that, I kept just wanting to do the work with you as a result of that.
Absolutely. I can open up some slots in my diary for a discovery call as well. So we can jump on a call as well. Should anybody want to do that, I would love to meet some of you.
Well, Arti, it was such a pleasure having you on today. I was looking at your work and diving into your energy, and I'm just like, I cannot wait to meet her. I kept telling Lindsay, I cannot wait to have her on. I will be sure to link all of your Facebook information, LinkedIn information in the show notes below. So if anyone's interested, just scroll down and find the links to find Arti. But thank you so much for coming on the Soul Revival podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and I've had a lovely time. Thank you.
Thank you, Arti.
Thank you.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Follow our podcast. We release a new episode each and every week, and join us on Facebook inside the Soul Revival community. Come be a part of the magic. We'll see you there.